Hello, my name is Robin Peterson, and for my gallery presentation, I decided to touch on the topic of how art is used to bring to light the issues that surround war and violence. Is that while other social issues are more commonly addressed, like racism and feminism, artistic statements on war are rather sporadic and only come about when a major conflict arises. But however, using artistic means to touch on this sensitive topic is important as well as it is used in a multitude of ways in order to convey an anti-war message of peace. So for the first artwork that it shows is called "Not Our Children, Not Their Children" by Mark Vallon, and is a black and white pencil drawing which shows a stone-faced father holding the limp body of his son while smoke pours out of the rubble of a home in the background. So seeing the desolation on the receiving end of warfare is meant to be a sobering one, as that in the case of this drawing, those who resided back in the U.S. during the Iraq War did not feel the same devastation as the Iraqis did, is that not just family members were lost, but homes and communities as well, and is meant to reverse the mentality of those who may die overseas and not just to be out of sight, out of mind. The choice of having this be a black and white image also adds to a depressing tone as the lack of color emphasizes the seriousness of what is being depicted. The next artwork that has been chosen is called Queen and Country and is named of a large oak stamp cabinet created by Steve McQueen, which has 120 pull-out double-sided drawers which contain large sheets of pictures of military personnel who died during the Iraq War in the form of stamps. Each sheet of stamps is a repetition of the same soldier's face over and over and is reminiscent of how individuality of a soldier is lost when surrounded by others, especially those who give them orders. That in the war, a soldier is just a tool to help achieve a goal rather than a person. The cabinet itself looks like a casket when all the drawers are closed. In each individual drawer itself could be like the plots where military personnel are buried at veteran cemeteries, letting the viewer know just how costly a war can be, not in just expenses, but of lives as well, due to the gruesome outcomes of that are the result of the violence in a war, with that being the mass casualties involved, citizens and troops alike, and in the eyes of an unempathetic government, are just the numbers to be put onto a page or bodies in a box. This poster is a anti-war poster that was distributed across the UK by British advertising agency Karma Marana to protest the country's involvement in the Iraq War in 2003 and is titled Make Tea Not War. And the bright orange poster with contrasting black letters depicts the current Prime Minister at the time of UK, Tony Blair, holding an AK-47 of a teacup on his head as a helmet, which is a play on the Make Tea Not War statement is a play on the anti-war statement Make Love Not War. For those who do not believe in the justification of warfare, the usage of posters is just as important of other types of media, like video and writing, is that other visualizations, be it satirical in nature, like a man with a teacup for a helmet, or serious, anything that may make someone's head turn to pay attention to your cause is important, as it usually goes against the popular public opinion due to said conflict being sugar-coated or censored in its actions. The next artwork is an installation made by Fiona Banner in a series. It is a series of two intact fighter jets, one a Sea Harrier and the other a Sea-Cat Jaguar, placed into a gallery in Tate Britain, with one standing on its nose cone and the other on its back. The Harrier had the front colored black to represent a beak and black feather markings on its wings, while the Jaguar got stripped of its protective paint entirely and got a mirror-like polish. The move to give the machines of war a more animal-like appearance is representational of how war itself is given a makeover to make it seem more appealing in appearance and less threatening to being directly connected to your own life. but like how eventually, despite how much information about conflicts and violence get covered up, it'll eventually surface and be known in the facade shattered. Like how a fighter jet in a gallery cannot hide its identity as a weapon of destruction, as Apheli Rosenmeyer said back in 2010 in the article she wrote about Fiona Banner's artwork. As jets are bird-like in form due to aerodynamics, this was a good choice for the makeover of appearances, as that other types of weaponized machinery don't necessarily have similarities with more naturalistic shapes as well. And the last artwork I chose is called The Knotted Gun, or Nonviolence, and is a bronze creation of Carl Friedrich Ruderswald, which is a sculpture of a Colt Python 357 Magnum revolver with the barrel of said gun tied into a knot, making it incapable of hypothetically being fired. Carl originally created this sculpture to reflect his remorse regarding the shooting of the singer John Lennon of the Beatles, but after being a donation to the United Nations in 1988, it's been seen as a symbol to reflect both anti-gun violence and anti-war sentiments alike, and has been a symbol of the Non-Violence Project since 1993. The decision to take an object that is seen and used as a deadly weapon and mutilating it to a degree where it's rendered useless is a bold message in the seeking of peace. So, to close, and I personally think that anti-war art is more important now, more now than ever, especially with like the Ukraine war happening right now and other violence happening around the war worldwide. So I think people need to be more aware of what's going on, and it's rising up against it and realizing just how things are happening and look at sources for how it's going on, and people should be more aware of what's happening around them, and artwork can help with that. So, and these are my sources to my presentation at gallery. So, thank you for listening.